All right, everybody. So I am going to start the meeting, the regular meeting of the Nashoba Regional School Committee tonight at 6:00 p.m. I think that we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you guys could all mute, feel free to stand and you can say it along with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So per the agenda, you know that we are going to head into executive session now, and I wonder if I could rely upon Mr. Horish for a motion.
Of course, I will move to go into executive session. Session A, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Unit A, Unit C, Session A to include school committee members, Superintendent Downing, Assistant Superintendent Friend, Director of Finance and Operations, Ross Mulcairn, and Director of Human Resources, Anne Marie Stoika. And Session B, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. Superintendent of Schools, Session B to include school committee members and Superintendent Downing. Meeting will resume in regular session at the conclusion of the executive sessions.
Thanks, Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Scott. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah. Just for clarification, when Mike read the motion, there were two executive sessions. Our Superintendent Friend, Finance Director Mulcairn, and Human Resources Director Stoika are going to be a part of both sessions.
It does not say so. Kirk, I'll lean on you for that.
I'm struggling with my technology. No, they will not be there for the second item, for item B.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right, looks like we're ready to take the vote. I vote yes. Scott?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I think that's everybody who I can see. Did I get everyone? Oh, I'm sorry, Shondor. Shondor.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, everybody. So we are in executive session. I'll just ask Nikki to stop recording if she was doing that. All right, everybody. So we are back from executive session, and we are now in back into the regular session of the Nashoba Regional School Committee meeting. And we thought it appropriate to share with you the results of our session B from executive session. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd just like to simply replicate what was done in executive session in the regular session. And so I'm going to make a motion that the school committee agree to a salary increase for our superintendent for the next school year at 3%.
I'll second that.
Thanks, Amy. And any further discussion? All right, we're going to take a roll call vote on that. I vote yes. Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Anne Marie?
Yes.
I think I got everybody there. All right, so I would just like to say a thank you to our superintendent. That salary increase is really, well deserved. The work that you have put into our district is extraordinary, and we're all very grateful to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll take that as a recognition there. So, and I thank the committee. I love Nashoba. I love being here. I love the people I work with. And so let's keep cooking.
Agreed. Okay. So we're going to keep going with our agenda here. And the next item on the agenda is public comment. So I have received no public comment for our virtual meeting tonight. So we're going to keep rolling to the consent agenda. And I'm going to turn to Mr. Horish for a motion.
All right, I'll move to approve the consent agenda of May 24th, 2023, containing the draft meeting minutes of May 10th, 2023, and the warrants of May 26th, 2023.
I'm going to second that. Is there any discussion on these two items? Seeing none, we'll take the roll call. Mike?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Karen?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Sean Dorr?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
And Maureen?
Yes.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. On the agenda, we have a school committee chairperson update, which is nothing needs to happen there. So we're going to keep going. And I can see that Hansi is here and we are ready for our student representative report. Hi, Hansi.
Hi, everyone. So for today, it's pretty short, pretty simple. So starting with sports, all of our spring teams have qualified for the MIAA state tournament, which begins next week. And our teams are finishing the regular season this week. The boys and girls track teams won the league championship last week, and members of both teams will be competing in the MIAA state sectional meet this weekend. Tonight, there's an art show and a choir concert. And next Tuesday, the VEX robotics team placed third in a recent competition at Oakmont High School, and this is different from our first robotics team. And we also had a very successful junior prom on May 30th at Mechanics Hall. That's all I have for tonight.
That's amazing. So many great things to report at the end of the school year here. Does anybody have any questions for Hansi? As always, we appreciate you being here. So thanks for joining us. And
thank you, everyone.
Best wishes for the great end of the school year.
Thank you. Bye.
I will add that perhaps like some others of you who I just don't know about, Amy Vessel's daughter is highlighted in the art show tonight. Super proud of Haley. And we thank you, Amy, for being here. I know that Jeff is representing. So moving on here, we have the superintendent's report. So I'm going to turn it over to Kirk for a few updates.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have two pieces for you tonight, which you're probably welcome after some of our lengthy, most recent reports to this committee. The first thing I would like to share is we're having a change in some structures at Florence Sawyer School. I'm bringing this to you tonight, even though this was put out to the community a while back. Just wanted to had some questions come up recently about this, so I wanted to use this opportunity to share it with the community again. On April 7th, Principal Bates announced a restructuring of the school with the addition of the dean position. Mr. Levine was happy to accept the appointment into the dean position, thus leaving an opportunity for us to do some grade level switches, bring kindergarten and first grade over to the Emerson building to create an early childhood center there, which I think is really going to help us with some of the efficiencies of our support staff and people to work with students. And in doing so, we were able to look for and find an assistant principal who is going to have a primary focus while supporting the school cross grades K through 8, will be supporting in grades K through 2. And then shortly thereafter, Ms. Caitlin Angulo, Dr. Angulo earned a position in another district, and we're going to wish her well. And I think it's going to meet her personal needs. And so that is why we are looking for the second position for the assistant principal position at Florence Sawyer, of which we're currently in that search. And I know that Mr. Bates and I are screening around 15 candidates on Friday. That'll be whittled down, go through the interview processes, and ultimately selected. And before we move into the teaching and learning, I am happy to take any questions.
Any questions on the FSS reorg?
Kirk, I do have a question on what drove the decision to reorganize the grades? Did that come out of the strategic plan work or the visioning or?
Yeah, this is a conversation I've been having with Mr. Bates really for over a year, and thinking about how we deliver our services and what our focus is. One of the things we noticed on our team is that the administrators on our leadership team, I am the only one that has early literacy experience as a teacher and an administrator. And so this restructuring is giving us an opportunity to bring in a new person who I'm not announcing tonight, because I want to afford Mr. Bates the opportunity to make that announcement to his community at the end of the week. And it's really going to help us, particularly with our MTSS structures, in our data structures and our PLC structures, that will really be able to tune in and focus. And we think it just makes good sense. And in the feedback that Mr. Bates has received from the community has been very positive. And certainly with teachers, we know there's some work in terms of moving, but Mr. Mulcairn and Mr. Frieswick helped facilitate how to make that happen smoothly and quickly to help our teachers. So I think this is going to be this restructure, I think, is going to be a great move for Florence Sawyer and give us that early childhood environment, pre-K, K1, so we can limit the amount of transition students are having across the buildings. And then, of course, going up to the building, back to the building, that sort of thing. So I think this is going to be good for us.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great thing. And I thank you for taking the lead and making it happen. So
great.
Any other comments about that? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next element of the superintendent's report.
Yes, it was our hopes and dreams to get these to you just a tad bit sooner, but we have them now. And so I would like to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Friend to talk to you about our front-facing curriculum guides. Assistant Superintendent.
Great, thank you. My favorite topic, teaching and learning. Thank you. So we are excited to share a sneak peek because we still have editing and some revisions to do on our front-facing curriculum guides. So these are in draft form. They will be in final form by the end of the school year and ready for publishing on our website before the start of the school year. But as you're aware, we have been engaging in curriculum alignment and development work in grades 6 through 12 in our content areas, K-12 and our related arts, K-5 math. And so complementing that work, our teachers have been working on the development of front-facing curriculum guides to share with families as an overview of the framework for learning in a given year and in a given discipline. I'd like to commend the efforts of our teachers in working on these, along with Courtney Philbin and Laura Padgington, our curriculum directors, in helping support that work. We're hopeful that these front-facing curriculum guides will provide our families with an overview and a framework for learning for their child in a given year and a given discipline and domain. In terms of the contents, as we've included in your packet and a link to the documents in terms of a sneak peek, we've provided course descriptions. And in many cases, these course descriptions are aspirational visions for what we hope and dream for learning in that content area and in that grade level. We're not quite there yet in all of our content areas in terms of our aspirational vision, but this is the work that we are engaging in right now and will continue to engage in robustly in the year ahead and as follows. As well as the course descriptions, these curriculum guides also include transfer goals, units of study, essential questions by units, and then the intentional integration of our Portrait of a Nashoba graduate competencies within each unit. So these continue to be a work in progress. We're excited to share all of the curriculum guides that we have developed before the start of the school year on a new teaching and learning site, on our new and updated website next school year. So we're excited to launch that. Next year, our work with curriculum will continue as we work to really dig in on assessment. We will continue to work on curriculum 6-12, K-12 related arts, and we're going to work on the development of our front-facing curriculum guides for K-5, so for our elementary level and the core content areas. So that will be work that we will engage in next year. We're excited to share the work with you. I need to be honest and tell you that the team was nervous because they said that we still have some revisions and some edits to go with these, which we understand. But we're excited to share the content with you. And please know that we're going to continue to work on those so they're in tip-top shape to be shared with all of our families before the start of the school year.
And Ms. Friend, please thank them for us, because I know this meeting was our last opportunity to show that work given the items on future meeting agendas. So thank you to them for doing that.
And we know that the work of curriculum and the work that we do with teaching and learning is always worthy of revision. We're never done. And so I think this just speaks to that. So while we may go back in and do some final edits and revisions, it's not a process that's static for sure. It's definitely a dynamic process. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. I wonder if the school committee has any questions, anything that you would like more information on. All right. I know we're going to talk more about curriculum later through Clark's evaluation. So thank you now, Laura, for all of your hard work.
Thank you. Thanks to the teachers and to our team. Yeah.
All right. And I think that wraps it up for the superintendent's report, Kirk.
It does. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Fantastic. So on we go to new business, and we are looking to approve and take a vote on a new member of the school building committee. So perhaps I will hand this to Joe or Kirk, either one.
I defer to Mr. Gleason.
Oh, thanks, Superintendent Downing. Yes, Mr. Nicholson is a supposedly new member from the town of Stowe. Some of the older members of the committee will remember that his daughter used to be our school committee liaison. Mr. Nicholson brings an extensive amount of experience in building projects to the committee. He also sat on the visioning team last week, a year ago, February. So it is with a great amount of enthusiasm that I would simply move to approve Dan Nicholson as our 15th member of the school building committee.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? All right, I don't think I see any, although, I see Sharon's hand. Go ahead, Sharon.
I just have a question. Who's he replacing?
That's a good question, Sharon. He is actually replacing Mr. Rubenstein, who sat on the building committee not as a member of this district committee, but as a non-parent resident of the district. So Mr. Nicholson does not have any children in the school district this time, so we feel he qualifies for that position.
Very helpful. Any other discussion? All right, is that Alita? Yeah, Alita.
Attorney Gleason, should I add that he's a voting member?
Yes, voting member. Yes. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, as a voting member. But we would assume that because he's from Stowe.
Yeah. All right, everybody, let's take the roll. I'll start with you, Joe.
Yes.
I say yes. Sharon.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Amy Cohen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Amy Vessels.
Yes.
Shandor.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
And Mike.
Yes.
I think I got everybody. Did I get you, Sharon? Yes. Okay, good. All right, everybody. So we have, I think, what is a complete committee now, Joe? Yeah. Well done. Well done. Thanks, Joe. He's running a tight ship over there, everyone. Let me tell you. All right, moving on to our next matter of new business. This is going to be our CPAC presentation. And so we are looking to welcome our CPAC chair people into the meeting. And I think I do see Dana. Hi, Dana. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi.
And I think I saw Pam. There's Pam. Hi, Pam. So I will hand it over. I will hand it over to you guys, and you can take us away and help us understand what CPAC has been doing this year for our district.
All right. Can I share my screen so I can get the PowerPoint up?
If you can, you are very welcome to do so. Let me know if it won't let you. Alita
right.
says you should be able to.
Mm-hmm.
I see it.
Awesome. All right. It's short and sweet, everybody. All right. So, first slide. Okay. So thank you for having us today. I really appreciate it. And sorry, I'm a little bit gravelly. Children are amazing carrier monkeys for viruses. So that's where we are at the moment. But so Pam and I are the co-chairs for this year. I don't know, Pam. So we co-chaired this year, and then our town reps. It was a little challenging this year to get people to actually join CPAC in all of these elected roles. And it's something that we are going to be tackling over the summer, actually, so we can actually have full representation from all of the towns. So this year, our town rep we only had from Stowe was Lauren Flynn. And then the PTO liaison, again, only from Stowe was Caitlin Smith. And then our high school representative was Michelle Powell of Stowe. So Stowe really showed up this year. I'm not sure why. It must be all those apples. And then Pam was our social media manager, and Lauren Flynn ended up being our secretary. So we are going to have some vacancies coming into this new school year. We just voted on some stuff, but Lauren and myself have children that are going to be going to Minuteman this fall. So we're trying to figure out what our role can be for CPAC next year with Minuteman having its own CPAC. So there we go on that. Pam, did you want to add anything to this? No. Okay. All right. Second slide. Maybe. Okay. Our goal for the year. Is to work with the school committee, the superintendent, and the director of pupil personnel services to develop a shared and concrete definition of CPAC's role and to determine how the CPAC operates with and within the district. This was our big goal this year because there was some questions that kind of came up throughout the beginning of last year, or at the end of last school year. And so we just really want to make sure that we understood what our role is, that we understood what the school committee wanted from us, and also the director of pupil services. So, and the superintendent. Pam, I know you've worked a lot on this. Do you want to just give a quick 1 minute thing so we stay in our time?
Yes, if I can unmute. So we met with the director of pupil personnel services individually, meaning Dana and I, and just Ms. DeAngelis. And then we had a joint meeting with the superintendent and the director of pupil personnel services. And then we had another meeting with just the superintendent. We also communicated with our school committee liaison and with the school, kind of got some feedback from the chair on how some discussions that she had with the superintendent. And we basically focused, this is what our main focus was this year, was to just kind of, get a better idea of where everybody saw us. And I think we're still working on it, but we were really happy with how every person that we opened, we opened the door to, they opened the door back. So we're looking towards continuing to work on a collaborative working relationship between everything with CPAC, and hoping that CPAC will be a little more active this next school year.
So these are some of the things that were established this year. I don't want to like read everything verbatim. We can definitely share this presentation with all of you. But we worked on quite a bit of listening. We did a lot of listening from parents in the school, and just to try to like fully understand, like, how can we help parents and guardians with their students to make sure that they have the services that they believe that they need, that they actually need, and everybody understands the process of an IEP and a 504, because they can be a little daunting at times. So one of the big takeaways that we learned this year that we are going to focus on next year for a goal is creating a guidebook, like a manual of the IEP process, and make it user-friendly. One of the big things that we heard from parents is that there's jargon, that the teachers and staff are using that they don't necessarily understand. There's a lot of acronyms out there. And so you can get into a meeting and then you realize you're not fully understanding everything, and you might be committing to something that you're not really 100% sure on. And then we want to work with the school committee on this manual, right? To make sure like everything is good, that everybody's on the same page, that you understand what our goals are for parents and guardians and the students that are involved in this process. So we do want to make it collaborative between school committees, superintendent's office, and the interim new director. So, and Pam is going to be kind of like leading that charge for us this year, I think. And then next slide. Presentations this year. We outsourced a lot of these actually, and we're working in collaboration with other CPACs, and that also helps keep the cost down for us, but it also just allows these presenters to have really big impact. One of the big things that we want to be able to do next year is not just reach families that are on IEPs and 504s. A lot of these talks are great for parents in general. So one of the big things, right, that helped, I think, was the collaborative problem solving workshop that is based on Dr. Ross Green's philosophy, CPS, he's out of Maine. And I think there was actually a workshop earlier this year that the special ed teachers and the paras and stuff attended, that follows the same philosophy, but it's a philosophy that all parents can benefit from, right? And also like ADHD, not all kids who have ADHD are on 504s or IEPs. And so we're trying to empower parents across the board. And because when we do that, it also helps the classroom, it helps the kids, and everything. So it was a pretty good turnout for most of these. Next year, we plan on doing more in-person, hopefully, talks. We want to get, how to get your kids moving, right? Like, how do you get kids to exercise if they don't want to do sports? Talking about anxiety, talking about mental health. And then we also want to have a workshop on caregiver fatigue. Parents, how can we support parents better so they can then, better support their students? So that's another thing that we're going to be looking into next year. Pam, did you have anything you'd like to add on this one?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that what also came out of our meetings with the superintendent and the director of People Personnel Services was being able to add CPAC events to the superintendent's weekly common. And what that really helped us to do, and also that the principals were sharing out information about our presentations. We forgot to include on this slide that the ADHD presentation had a total of 210 attendees, and 107 of those attendees were from Nashoba. So, and we shared that, as you can see, we co-sponsored that with Northborough, Southborough, and Shrewsbury. But but we were about half of the attendees, and a lot of those that attended that were not CPAC families. So it just goes to show, like what Dana was saying, that the presentations that we're putting together, more families than just the CPAC families can benefit from this.
Next year's goals. We want to improve communication and transparency between the district and the parents and guardians. And so, as I was saying, we want to develop a user-friendly special education process guide. This is one of the big things that we are hearing from parents, and that we've talked to Kirk about a couple of times, is just, and it's not meant to be 20 pages, right? It's like a 2-pager. Like, this is what's happening. These are the services that, are available. And the big question is whose responsibility is it to get the IEP 504 process started? Is it the parents? Is it the school? We want to be able to have those answers for everyone. So if you're seeing something, then you can ask the teacher, you can ask your principal, right? A lot of parents, come in and say, we don't know what, dyslexia looks like or dysgraphia looks like. How am I supposed to know that, right? Or if your child is having trouble with peer-to-peer interactions, it could be, something else. It could be ADHD, it could be autism related. And if you don't have those diagnoses and you're hearing that, what does that mean? Right. And so what we were trying to do is just help parents get the services that they need, or inside the school district or even outside, right? The outside available resources. And then, when you go through the IEP 504 process, what does it entail? And then when you have to transition. So we want to make sure that we have a one-stop shop basically for everyone to understand what, Nashoba is doing for our students, for our parents, for the educators. So it's more of a collaborative process. We don't want friction. I don't think anybody wants that, because at the heart of it, at the end of the day, we're all here for the kids, right? We want to make them happy, successful, educated adults in the future. So, but that starts now. So, I don't know, Pam, do you have anything else you'd like to add on this one? Oh, all right. I think we had time for questions, maybe. I'm not sure, but
you did fantastic. Thanks so much, Dana.
All right.
And thanks, Pam. Yeah, that was very informative. And that presentation is in the meeting materials, so everybody does have access to it. And we're grateful for you collating all of the great work you've done this year. And we're grateful to you and all the people on the CPAC for showing up, for doing the work, and for trying to build that collaborative partnership.
Thank you.
So we definitely have time for a few questions, and I'll let the school committee throw their hands up. I see Amy is first.
Thanks. How are those vacant seats advertised? Like, what's the process for running for one of those spots?
So that's a great question. So one of the things that we are trying to do is, so CPAC, if your child is on an IEP or 504, there is an email that goes out specifically to those parents and guardians, right? And then if we need to ask to be put into the common for the superintendent one. And so communication, which we are working with Kurt on how to get all of that out there, right? So instead of in 5 different spots, how can CPAC get that information out to everyone that we have these open spots? Because an officer spot is open to anyone in the district. You do not have to have a child on a 504 or an IEP to serve on it. And so we also use Facebook quite a bit to get the word out. But then everything else goes through email, through the school district itself, because we actually don't control the list. That is all through the district.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Maureen.
I have a question. I'm wondering, what role is CPAC going to play in potentially play in the search for the new Director of Pupil Services?
I would love to say a huge one, but I understand, like the search committee and everything will come down to like Kurt and the rest of the team, that will be doing the hiring process. That was actually probably topic number one right after that email went out for CPAC members. There are parents that would like to be involved in that process. And so I think we're just waiting for some direction on this. But it's actually one of the things that Pam and I we're actually going to talk to Kirk about.
We have a meeting set up. Yeah,
yep.
We have a meeting set up just to speak with Kirk directly.
Yep. Yes.
Great.
Kirk.
Yeah, I'll throw it over to Kirk.
As a matter of fact, I reached out to Ms. Duggan the day after the announcement.
Yeah.
So we'll be in a planning process around that.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
We are very appreciative to be included in the process. Thank you, Kirk.
You bet.
All right. Any other questions for our CPAC members? And I just want to say thank you to Karen for being a really great liaison this year. Karen has been in the loop on all of our emails and a part of the conversation. So we are definitely here for you guys, and we look forward to continuing the partnership into the next year. If not with you specifically, obviously life has to take its natural course, but we want to keep CPAC very close as our advisory. So thanks, guys, for coming in and sharing with us.
No, thank you for having us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Karen, and everybody. Appreciate it.
Leah, can I just say something quickly?
Yeah, please.
I think you guys have done a fabulous job this year, and it's been, I'm more than happy to be the liaison. I apologize, I haven't made more meetings. I always try, and then something always gets in the way, so I apologize. But you've been great on email too, just to throw things out there, and so anytime. So thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks again. We appreciate your time. All right, everybody. So we're going to move on to our next agenda item, and that is another presentation for another advisory that we're really excited to hear from, and that is Dear Jay. And you guys can see that we have members of Dear Jay entering the meeting here. And I am going to start with Ms. Lori Burnett. Hi, Lori.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. It's great to see everybody. We're the Diversity, Equity, Awareness, and Racial Justice Advisory. We're also called Dear Jay. Is really excited to be here and present to you what we've been working on this year. So thanks for your time. As Leah said, I'm Lori Burnett. I wanted just to start by providing maybe a brief background of what Dear Jay is for those of you who are newer to the committee. Very briefly, back in January of 2021, at the request of the Nashoba Regional School Committee, Dear Jay first convened to discuss how we could support the school committee and the district in their commitment and responsibility around anti-racism, inclusion, and belonging, particularly as they're envisioned in the district's mission and vision statements and in the school committee's anti-racism resolution. And over the course of the first 4 months of convening, we had a group of over 40 alumni, staff, students, parents, and community members who met to discuss the role of Dear Jay and our goals. Since this kind of intensive and extensive gathering of stakeholders, the school district, as everybody knows, has already engaged in its own comprehensive strategic planning process. And so the presentation that's going to follow really describes the work that's born from the voices and learning that occurred during both the Dear Jays and the school district strategic planning process, as well as the work that's happened since those plans were completed. So I want to now just take a brief moment to introduce the Dear Jay members from this past year, 2022 and 2023. I feel so exceedingly fortunate to work with such amazing people. And I'm not sure if our slide sharing is going, but hopefully everybody got our packet as well. But our members this year who have given an incredible amount of time include
Lori,
Elizabeth.
Can I interrupt you really quick? I don't see the slide sharing. Are you guys sharing the presentation, or do you want me to do that?
Kelly was going to try to, but if it's not working, if you can, Leah, that's awesome. Either way.
I'm just, if you would like to, Leah, you certainly can. I was just trying to open my Zoom settings. So if you want to do it, that would be great.
Or maybe Alita, do you think you're better equipped? Can you do it, Alita? Yeah.
Okay, Alita, if you do, we can give you a little, tell you when to move on. Make it a little easier.
Great. And it is definitely in the meeting materials.
Okay.
So we will have access to that.
Okay,
as well.
so I'll keep going, but we're on the second, I'm just on the second slide, which lists all our members who've contributed a lot of time this year. That includes Elizabeth Bendler, Lindsay Shavs, Rillis Christopher, Calvin Cochran, Leah Cullinane, Kelly Lawler, and Carla Zils. Lindsay, Leah, and Kelly are here with us tonight, and you'll be hearing from them. Unfortunately, Elizabeth and Calvin were unable to join us tonight. So I wanted just to give a huge thank you to Elizabeth for putting the slides together, and also for Calvin, who is graduating from Nashoba this year. So it's really exciting, and a big applause to him. Finally, and very importantly, before passing on to Lindsay, I just want to extend, so I'm on this third slide now, Alita. I just want to extend, our great gratitude for Superintendent Downing, Assistant Superintendent Friend, Ms. Masterson, and the school committee member, Sharon Pock, for your ongoing support, contributions, and investment in DRJ and our vision and our values, and partnering with us as we evolve and grow. And, as Lindsay, Leah, and Kelly will share in more detail in their work, we really see this as a partnership. We're here to work together. We see this as a learning community where we all feel we can belong. And as the mission statement says, be our best selves, pave our path, and impact the world. We feel exceedingly important, fortunate to be a part of the Nashoba community. And so with that, I will pass it on to you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lori, and good evening, everyone. Like Lori said, I'm also very honored to be a member of this amazing group of committed volunteers. And I think we can all agree that we're striving to work with our school district to ensure that we have equitable public education experiences for all of our scholars, as well as all of our stakeholders. So I'm really excited to be here. I am going to share with you our mission and vision, which has been crafted and recrafted several times after bringing in and listening to many different voices. A mission and vision that we think and feel strongly is aligned with the district's mission and vision, as well as the strategic plan laid out, as well as our group's values and priorities. And that's why we've done a lot of intentional work to revise it as we feel is necessary. So with that said, I will share our vision. Our vision is on slide 4. We envision a district where students of all races, ethnicities, sexual orientations, gender identities, religious affiliations, neurotypes, physical abilities, nationalities, incomes, languages, and bodies belong and are able to realize their unique potential as active contributors to their community. And Kelly, if we can move on to our mission. Our mission is to continually support and educate the Nashoba Regional School District and School Committee in its work to ensure that diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging are embedded within our systems, policies, and practices for all stakeholders. Excellent. So we're moving on, and I'm not sure if you all are also following. We're on. With our work, we try to ground our efforts in equitable principles, focusing on actively challenging bias and promoting intersectionality. And with our work, we try to ensure our initiatives align and integrate well with the strategic objectives outlined by the district, which I mentioned earlier as well. And with our work, we try to seek guidance and insight from the many diverse communities who have demonstrated impactful change, and we have data to support that. With our work, we try to act in an advisory capacity with our goal of increasing voices that are under-recognized within our community. And that's something that we keep at the forefront as we're navigating all the work we're doing as a committee. We have accomplished an immense amount of work over the last few years, and tonight we're just going to highlight the work we accomplished as a team this school year. In the spirit of providing kind of a concise report this evening, we've divided our work into the following 6 categories, and there will be a representative from our team that will present the specific goals and tasks that we worked on and or completed this year and or are continuing. So our 6 categories are DRJ Foundations, Equity Audit, DRJ Website, District Calendar, Professional Development, and Decision-Making Tool. And with that, I will now pass the baton back to Lori Burnett for DRJ Foundations.
All right, great. I will be brief on this. This is sort of a work ever-evolving process. This year, we have worked to sort of define and refine our how. We've piloted meeting structures that increase inclusivity, that are learning focused, data informed and efficient, and then incorporate community input. So that's sort of a constant process. We want to be modeling what we're hoping for. We have clarified our individual roles and responsibilities and kind of created a structure for our working groups so we can bring in different voices and also manage our volunteer time. We have continued to work on what we've been calling our guiding document, which hopefully will make easily accessible our past, present, and future work, provide links and show our priorities and provide links to the subcommittee work we're doing, as well as our mission, vision, and values. And just to circle back, basically, you know, we recognize we are learning and growing with you all and with the district. And so this process is ever evolving. And with that, I will pass it on to Leah.
Thank you, Lori. The equity audit. We participated in the first round of analysis of the received proposals, applied and elevated concepts from our mission statement, worked collaboratively with a team of stakeholders. Next slide. The DRJ website. We're currently developing a website to be housed within the NRSC area of the NRSD website. We have goals of communicating priorities, ongoing transparency, and improving community outreach. Kelly?
Hi, thank you very much for having me. Kelly Lawler, resident of Stowe. So this year, along with last year, we continued to work on ways that the district calendar can continue to focus on culture and belonging within the calendar and the days that are represented on the calendar that reaches out to the entire community. So we really want to make sure that it's truly inclusive. So our group has researched, 30 different schools and towns locally around Nashoba Regional. And what we came up with were some recommendations that we put together in January of 2023. And we started to meet with the calendar committee. We had really good conversations with the superintendent and the calendar committee. And we were able to meet with them before they brought the calendar to the school committee in March. And so we are going to continue this work. We made a lot of changes to make sure that more cultures and religious observances are recognized, but we still have more work to do in that area when we look at ways that other schools are pushing belonging and culture more on their calendar so that there's more of a welcoming community that we have. We can kind of spread that message. And then professional development. So I, along with Lindsay, we were able to conduct a district-wide session entitled Culturally Responsive Teaching during the March Professional Development Day at Nashoba Regional High School. We curated a list of resources focusing on culturally responsive teaching and practices. And what was really great, we were in a classroom with 15 to 20 teachers, and Lindsay and I were able to share some things that have worked for us on the ground level, because we both have 15 plus years of teaching experience. So it was really nice for teachers to ask us questions, to kind of talk about different pedagogies and mindsets that we're all bringing into the classroom to meet the needs of all of our learners, because we know that's the most important thing that we do here at Nashoba. And back to Lindsay.
Thank you, Kelly. Lastly, we wanted to share information about a decision-making tool that we have really spent quite a bit of time researching and discussing. And we all know that really, in order to eliminate disparities and close community opportunity gaps and really improve outcomes for everyone, we need to work intentionally to lift and improve the outcomes of all of our underserved and underrepresented populations. So with that said, this group has been working on researching different decision-making tools that we hope different stakeholders can use within the district as they make decisions around systems and policies and practices, and as those are developed and reviewed and revised. We think that such protocol would really provide a structure for ensuring that equity is at the center of the process of making and implementing and addressing these systems and practices and policies. And it's easy to lose sight of that. And we thought such tool could be used, with the school committee or through the school district or in faculty groups or whatever it may be, to ensure that that is central to the work we're doing, and that we've taken that lens and worn that hat to ensure the best outcomes for all of our scholars. Which brings us to our final slide, to share some of our ongoing work that we hope to focus on next year. Some of it, like I said, is ongoing and a continuation of this year, and some of it we're looking to delve in further for the first time. Obviously, we want to support the equity audit in any way possible, both communication and also just kind of as information is received, how it's shared with the community, and be present throughout that process. Secondly, in terms of community participation, we want to think about creative ways to continue to ensure that as we're working and informing our work, that we do have diverse voices and perspectives that are informing and guiding our work. As Kelly mentioned, with curriculum and PD, we want to, and we know there's a lot of exciting curriculum work happening within the district. So this is wonderful, but we want to ensure that equitable practices are kind of, again, central to both teacher learning as well as student learning, and continue our work there. I just spoke to the decision-making tool, and our hope, like I said, is to strive on and agree upon a final recommendation for a tool, and work to ensure that folks are trained and that we calibrate so that the tool is utilized in a way that it's intended to. As also we've mentioned around the calendar and handbooks, I think this is a perfect example of where that decision-making tool could live, right, during the revision of a handbook, because we know that our policies can have inequitable outcomes and for all of our students, depending on how they're written, right? So, and lastly, but certainly not least, DearJ as advisors, we truly want to find a way next year to participate within your subcommittees as a school committee to help elevate and center equity for all of our scholars and all the work that you do and we do and everyone does within the district. So we really look forward to partnering with you more, and we can't be, we are certainly so thankful for all of your participation and thoughts and the work again of the folks that have been supporting us. So thank you. And I think, Leah, do we have time for any questions or comments?
Definitely. That was such a fantastic presentation. Thank you all. So well organized. It's clear you guys are working so hard for the district. We really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions about what you just heard, or perhaps projecting forward? Remember that DearJ is our advisory, although they do have kind of a parallel path where they're also working with on the operational side of things with Kirk. I see Amy Vessels. Go for it.
So maybe I missed this, but are you working then with, do you have conversations with the administration at the different schools as they work to revise their handbooks each year?
Thank you, Amy, for that question. So that is a new project for next year. Our initial conversation has been primarily with the high school. And so we've had an exchange with the high school principal to work with, start there with the high school next year. So that's our sort of first step in that space.
Great. That seems like a great initiative too. I see, maybe Amy Cohen?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the DearJ for, the work that went into the presentation and the initiatives that you've set for yourself for next year. I think that the work that you're doing is really important, and it was work that needed to be done. And I'm so excited to see where it goes and the impact that it has on our students. So thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Over to Mike.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. That was great. I'm wondering if you, if I know that DearJ has a presence as an advisory, but I wonder if DearJ has kind of a passive representation to other events around the community where you're not necessarily the centerpiece of the conversation, but you are sort of in tune with the attitudes, opinions, and perspectives that kind of orbit the district, that are kind of related to the towns in the district.
Yes, thanks, Mike, for that question. We definitely hope to increase that and in our work, but we do have partnerships, and part of our meetings each week is to hear what is happening within the community. We have members from the Nashoba Area Social Justice Alliance, which is an organization that covers all three of our communities, who participate both on this committee and who also have members that are involved in many other community events that we have a connection and provide, I guess, hear from them and also share with them. So it's a sort of integrated partnership as well. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add there.
Yeah, I think we're just kind of doing some work around how can we be better with outreach, and that's where Miss Cullinane has come in, and she's done a great job helping us to think about our website and our messaging and our vision, and what are ways that we want to express ourselves on the website, and then also how can we be more involved within the community and bring them to more school committee meetings.
And the website is something that is forthcoming, right? It is about to be launched.
Yes, we're in the process of finalizing, and we're almost ready to post it.
Awesome. I love a good website. Any other questions for DearJ? I would just wrap by saying that I feel like when DearJ was created, we knew that we desperately needed it. You guys all stepped up and put in your time. And at times you felt like you were maybe spinning your wheels a little bit. And then I feel like when Kirk came on board, that everything started clicking with the strategic plan. And now you are really getting traction, it seems to me. Your purpose is clear. You have these initiatives that are real, they're meaningful, they're relevant. They're going to have impact on kids and families. So I love it. And I really appreciate it. So thanks, guys. Great work.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Madam Chair.
Kirk. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't offer my gratitudes to these wonderful people here as we partnered this year on all the activities. I won't repeat what they said other than just to offer my gratitudes and thanks. I will single out Ms. Cullinane, however, as a representative of our District Equity Committee. She has been a valuable main member of DRJ as well. We look forward to growing in the work.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Thanks, Lori. Bye, guys. We're lucky to have such great people around us looking to help and just giving all of their time. So it's pretty awesome. Just like all you. So let's keep moving, guys. Our next item on the agenda here is finance and operations. And so I will turn it over to Kirk, who will probably turn it over to Ross.
I would like to introduce Mr. Ross Mulcairn, our Director of Finance and Operations.
Thank you, and thank you to the committee for the opportunity to update you on the April FY23 operations report. And as always, thank you to the Budget and Warrant Subcommittee, as I think most often are able to bring drafts of this report to them ahead of time for their questions, and perhaps helps me think about our practices. So thank you to them. So presented this evening is the FY23 April operations report. I'm going to signal sort of like the total on the bottom line here as a beginning point. As you can see, last year at this time, our projected balance was approximately $965,000. We know that this ultimately ends up becoming our E&D number at the end of the year, in which we certified at $1.49 million. So I'm paying close attention to the processes that Ms. Maroney used as my predecessor at the end of the year here, as we build a signal to the committee of what our potential E&D balance would be, that we'd be putting forward for certification through the Department of Revenue. Currently, we're projected at $1.3 million. Again, as I've explained, I think throughout the school year, the majority of that is built off of our salary savings through surplus, through our enrollment standards, and other things that happen, such as hiring somebody who's newer to the profession, as we say, farewell to a more senior tenured teacher that may have retired at the end of last year or over the summer. We're, again, continuing to closely watch the facilities line. We should be done heating our buildings and wrapping up that. So our impact on the facilities line through the heating oil is not as impactful as it possibly could have been. I'll get the final usage of gallons from Rob Frieswick over the next several weeks here as we take a look at what we came in at for usage. We know that we were impacted by a significant increase in oil. Another piece of this, though, is we have to watch our delivery charges that we may get on our electricity, even though that we are still within a contract. So that's something that we're watching as we head into the warmer months of the end of May, at least, and also June. Other than that, we're feeling like we're in a pretty good position as far as what our projections are and understanding where things are at this point. And the principals are aware that we don't need to be buying next year's supplies with this year's money. So they know that anything that's coming forward to me in the form of a requisition will be scrutinized, as it always is. But we are obviously willing to support and provide whatever our students and teachers need that's necessary through the end of the school year here. Mrs. Friend and I have been talking closely a little bit about some of her needs as the year closes out, because even after we say goodbye to our students and they get on the buses, we still have professional development through Summer Academy that's happening for our staff. So we have to be cautious and thoughtful about what those possible expenditures look like. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Ross. Does the committee have any questions about the operations report? Mike, Budget and Warrant has had the chance to review this.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
great. All right, seeing no questions, perhaps we move on to your next item, Ross. Or maybe it's to Kirk, the OED grant.
Madam Chair, this is once again an item I'd like to turn over to Mr. Mulcairn. He signaled to the committee that at the last meeting that he would be bringing this forward. So, Mr. Mulcairn.
Yeah, so I want to just quickly, and I know we're doing great on time this evening, so quickly refresh the committee's collective memory regarding policy DD. That Mr. Simon was astutely in detail on when he did his training and brought that forward as a possible need for us. Even though the district has not done this before, we're going to be making sure that we bring grants to the committee ahead of time as much as possible. Some of these grants are going to be competitive. Others will be allocation grants, such as our title grants, where we're given our allocations, and then it's up to us to decide how we may use that allocation. In this case, this is our first pass through of this grant template being brought forward to the committee. Again, I thank the Budget and Warrant Subcommittee that gave me their time in feedback as we crafted this to keep it simple and straightforward. So in this case, our Assistant Superintendent friend had already brought forward the information in sort of the color around this grant to understand it. And this is strictly the budget piece. So you'll see that Courtney Philbin, who's our director of math and science, had done the legwork on this and presented the grant to us. The grant title is the Open SciEd Equitable Instruction Initiative Grant. It was competitive. We had to apply. It has begun technically, and it goes on until March of 26. So as Assistant Superintendent Friend explained 2 weeks ago with regards to the purpose of it, you can see the total grant allocation is $23,700. Just about half of it is being spent on the KIT funding, and the other half is being spent on the PD to expand these practices in accordance with our strategic plan and the curriculum work that's being done out of teaching and learning.
Excellent. Thanks, Ross. We are going to take a motion on this, but before we do, any clarifying questions? Ross, this template is something that we're going to see for all future grant awards.
Yes, that's correct. So, we may make some adjustments, but in essence, it should stay the same. So we have a standardized practice of bringing these grants to you. Sometimes we'll be able to do a little bit more detail around the explanation. Other times it'll be more of a straightforward grant. But again, according to policy DD, we do need to present these to you prior to expenditure.
Excellent. This is fantastic. Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I mean, I think these templates are great, and this is really just another level of demonstrating the district's transparency on grants and expenditures. So kudos. I love this. Thank you.
Maureen.
My question is on, I know it says it's a competitive grant, but it's just for Luther Burbank. Is that correct? And then if so, I have a follow-up on that.
So correct. This is supporting the work at Luther Burbank right now. And then Mrs. Frank could probably do a better job than I could with my memory, as she's more entrenched in this work than I am.
Got it. So then my follow-up would be, and this is kind of the theme that I have across budgets at this point, is how are we making sure that's equitable across all of the schools?
Kirk, do you want? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maureen.
So if Luther Burbank's getting this $23,700 put in specifically for Open Science Ed, how will the other two middle schools get that same support, I guess, to be equitable?
Great question. I think either Kirk or Laura.
Yeah, I'll bring in Assistant Superintendent Friend for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So great question. And I would say that Open SciEd will be implemented at all three middle schools equitably. beginning next year, and that the support through this grant will just help support and supplement the funding for what we are purchasing as a district. The allocation for Luther Burbank was a result of the percentage of students who are economically disadvantaged at Luther Burbank, and that's what allowed us to qualify for the competitive aspect of this grant to help support the funding for Luther Burbank and supplement the funding that we're receiving. However, the implementation of Open SIED is district-wide, 6 through 8 for all students. This grant is just supplementing the support of the purchase for Open SIED, and it's allocated for Burbank, but district-wide, all of our students will be receiving the same experience, if that makes sense.
I think I understand that. Yeah, thank you.
Great. That's fantastic. Thanks. Maybe, Mike, we're ready for a motion if you feel ready. Did I lose Mike? No, I didn't. Oh, there you are.
No, you didn't. It's just that my microphone was off.
Okay.
I'm going to move to accept the Open Science Ed Equitable Instruction Initiative, the OEI grant, in the amount of $23,700 for expenditure as presented in accordance with the school committee policy DD.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. I vote yes. Mike?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
And Maureen?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much for building that out for us, everyone. Appreciate it. All right. So we are cruising along here on our agenda. Our next item, we're moving over to unfinished business. And it looks to me like we have 5 votes that are queued up for us tonight. All right. So we're going to begin with the first one, which is the NRHS graduation credit requirement. And if the committee has no objection, I'm going to go right to Mr. Horish for each one. He can put a motion on the table, and then we can discuss if needed. Mike, what do you have for us?
Sure. I'll move to increase the Nashoba Regional High School minimum credit requirement by graduation to 25 credits.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Sharon. Any discussion on this matter?
Yeah, isn't it, is that worded correctly? 25 credits, isn't that per year or something?
Hold on.
I think he did, the motion says something like 25 credits to graduate. That can't be right.
Ah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that.
Ms. Collin, that should be per year, so.
Mike, would you mind amending that motion?
Sure, yeah.
To include language that it's 25 credits per year?
Sure. So just restate the motion.
You would move to increase the Nashoba Regional High School minimum credit requirement for graduation to 25 credits per year.
Okay, so moved.
Okay, and then Sharon, do you accept that friendly change?
Yes.
As you seconded. All right, any thanks for that, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Karen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
And Mike?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that, Kirk, and bringing, doing that good work to keep us in compliance. We are going to move over to our next item here in unfinished business, and that is the approval of the NRHS student handbook for school year 23-24. And I'll turn to Mr. Horish for a motion.
I'll move to approve the Nashoba Regional High School 23-24 school year handbook as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Sharon. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll take the vote. Mike?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Excellent. That motion passes unanimously again. And moving over to the next item of unfinished business. This is a motion to amend the school year 23-24 calendar. Before we take the motion, though, is everybody... this thing is so meticulous. It's so detail-oriented. I'd hate to take the motion and then find that there are things you want to change. Is everybody cool with it? Everybody's all right? Amy?
I had reached out to Leah about just making sure that the last day of school is noted as a half day. So I just want to make sure that's included. I don't see it on the posted. Wait, am I missing it? Yeah, I don't think it's on the posted meeting materials, but I know that you said that that change would be taken care of. So as long as that's taken care of, then I have no further changes.
So Kirk, I know that we talked about changing that last day to be marked as a half day. I don't know that the posted materials show it. Anne-Marie, go, maybe.
Yeah.
I do layer in the second column. It's red and bold. The last day of school will be an early release day. Of course, the last day of school we don't know because it will depend on the snow. But there it is.
Thank you.
The other couple of changes. Do you want to hear those or no?
No, I think we covered them last time, right? Nothing's been different. Or has anything been different, Emery?
Just the elimination of the late starts at the high school for professional development, based on your discussion last time. And then Alita put a red text bubble on the pre-K only conferences, the bright yellow, and at the end of February and early March. So they'd pop.
Love it. Okay.
So I apologize. I totally missed the red and bold text. I was looking for the yellow, showing a half day. So sorry about that.
Yeah, this thing is a beast. I missed it too. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Shondor, did you have something?
I'm just trying to understand the November 10th holiday, what that is.
Oops, I'm wrong here.
I believe it's Veterans Day.
That's right.
But that's the 11th.
Right, but of course it's celebrated because the 11th is a Saturday. So when holidays fall on a Saturday, we celebrate them the day before.
Okay.
I'm looking perhaps for a motion at this point, Mike.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm voting on the amendment. Is that right? The revision?
Yeah, the revised calendar.
I'll move to approve the revised 23-24 school year calendar as presented.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's take the vote. I vote yes. Maureen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Amy? Vessels?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
Excuse me. Shondor?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Sharon?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for sticking with that. Whew. It's a tough job. Somebody's got to do it. But now we go to the next one. And this is for the school year 24-25 calendar. This is a brand new vote. We're not revising anything here. This is the first vote that we're taking on this second calendar. Anne-Marie, did you want to weigh in here at all?
I do, because there are a couple of changes and differences in the calendar that's before you tonight and the one that you saw at the last meeting. Like the calendar we just discussed, we removed the high school late starts for professional development from the one that's before you tonight. Again, we notated that the last day of school will be an early release day. It's in the same spot, but it's not all caps. And again, we don't know a date for that because that will be subject to how many snow days we have. We also did the far right column, the pre-K to 8, and Alita put her little bubble on those bright yellow days in March to make sure that all the parents know that it's only the pre-K to K that have got the conference half day that day. We corrected 2 of the dates in the bottom right-hand corner where it says high school quarters. We moved by a day or 2 the end of the second quarter and the end of the third quarter, from January 22 to 24, and from April 3 to 4. There had been underneath March, April, May, there had been a typo, THAR, which is now that instead of thar, and still unresolved because it's not yet been, we still don't have a date for that state primary in September. So we're going to probably need to come to you when that's finalized. Other than that, it's the same calendar as you had 2 weeks ago.
All right. Any clarifying questions before we take a motion? Mike.
I just want to be clear that because this is this is a 24-25 calendar, this could come back to the committee for future revisions as necessary, correct?
Yes, and it almost definitely will when that state primary date is finalized.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I think everybody might be ready to take a vote. So Mike, I'll have a motion if you have it.
I'll move to approve the 24-25 school year calendar as presented.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, we'll take the roll. Sharon.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Joe.
Yes.
Shondor.
Yes.
Amy Cohen.
Yes.
Amy Vessels.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Myself, yes. And Maureen.
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Anne-Marie, for all that hard work. Really appreciate it. All right, everybody, our last, certainly not least vote that we're going to take tonight is on the final superintendent evaluation. So the composite evaluation, excuse me, is in your meeting materials. This is an object of Mike's hard work, taking all of our evaluations and bringing them all together. I would like to turn it over to our chairperson of the Personnel Subcommittee, Mike Horish, as he is the expert here. Mike, walk us through this process before we take the motion and vote.
Sure. First of all, we got very good representation this year. So I think we had 10 out of 11. So it was, of course, it feels better to write a composite report that is most representative of the committee. So I appreciate everyone's effort to get their evaluations in. Even if they were a day or two late, that's fine. If you've read through the composite, you'll notice that I referenced 2 perspectives. One was the perspective of the school committee. And when I referenced the term school committee, what that meant was that the majority of evaluations felt in that particular way. The school committee feels, or the school committee noted that. And that just meant that in your evaluations, if I noticed commonalities, then I described it as the school committee. And then as per our conversation in our last meeting, when there were not just dissenting views, but specific recommendations or requests or thoughts, you'll note that I wrote something to the effect of individual committee members or individual members. The way that this process worked for me, anyways, the way that it made sense to me was I printed out everything, summarized everybody's commentary on each of the goals and each of the standards and each of the composites, and then I really tried to stitch them all together using as much of your original language as possible. So the way that I thought about this is that if every person who responded had a font in a certain color, the final product would be this big rainbow of colors, because I just, as much as I could, just copied and pasted. It was really important to me that your perspectives and your voice was represented. Also, the composite which is kind of an important piece. You'll note that the way that this resulted mathematically, I mean, the way that I did this was that every rating had a value. I averaged the values and assigned a final. And you'll notice that the final evaluation was exemplary, and that is admittedly relatively rare for a second-year superintendent. I feel fine with it because it really represented what the collective evaluations said. But it is probably worth having a brief discussion as to whether we are comfortable assigning an exemplary as the overall rating. And I would also say that if, and to Leah, if we're okay having this discussion, I would say that you are certainly welcome to, and you should feel comfortable saying that you don't feel that exemplary is appropriate, but you can also feel that even if you didn't rate on your individual evaluation exemplary, that you are comfortable with assigning an exemplary as part of the composite. I think that that's probably only fair. And I did have a brief discussion with the superintendent about this, so this isn't anything that's coming as a surprise. I think it's probably in the interest of being clear about how we all felt as a committee about the performance of the superintendent and through the support of his team.
So thanks, Mike, for that clarification, but also a very quick thank you to you for doing this work. I know that you pour your heart into things like this because you take it very seriously and you know how important it is. It's one of the goals that we set out for the personnel subcommittee, and I think that we exceeded that goal under your leadership here. So really appreciate all of your hard work. It's no small task to bring together 10 opinions on a multifaceted evaluation. So the things that you wrote, just from my perspective, the way that you crafted, so first of all, you're a lovely writer, but I just love how you were able to assign the opinions to various members, not by name, but just to help us understand that there was complexity in the individual evaluations. But I think that you really did serve the spirit of this exercise in bringing them all together. And I hope that the rest of the committee feels that way. I am fairly certain that this is accurate of what I think. I do want to have a brief conversation about the overall evaluation because that is ultimately what is not important, but that is the rating that is submitted to the Department of Education. And so otherwise they don't get to read all of the fantastic things. They really only see the rating, and not that anybody looks at it, but it's on file. So we want to make sure that it is what we believe. And as a group, we will eventually take a vote on this. In this discussion, we can have, in this public conversation, we have the power to change the evaluation that Mike has completed if we want to, or we can just keep it as is. So I'd like to open the floor to the members, and you guys can weigh in if you think you want to in any way. Scott.
So I'd just like to know, with regard to the overall evaluation, did a majority of the members rate him exemplary?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other comments? Amy Vessels.
I just want to say that I think that my comfort with this is really going to come to a matter of like how much is done next year on curriculum assessment. I feel like that should be a real priority. I'm sure it will be, but that's particularly around assessment. I'm going to be definitely looking to see a lot accomplished in that area, I guess I would say.
Mike.
Yeah, I will say that, there was considerable amount of overlap in the things that we were addressing in the evaluation with respect to goals and standards and indicators. And that was a theme. That was a theme that came up that had probably had the most level of variability. I think everyone did made it very clear that the efforts that were taken to fulfill the curriculum work this year was outstanding. There was a difference of opinion on the work of assessments. And from a personal level, and I think you'll probably figure out where my own voice got into the composite, it felt to me like assessments wasn't explicitly part of this part of the goal. It felt like, to me, it was curriculum work. It was developing these plans and developing these reviews, but assessment would be kind of a future plan. I think I tried to capture that in there. So if we're talking about this year, and this isn't with a standard, because there was a standard that did specifically talk about assessment, but the student learning goal, I believe, I don't think had language of assessment, and I wouldn't want to fault the superintendent for not achieving something that wasn't explicit to the goal. And that's my personal opinion on that matter. So I fully appreciate that. And there were others that expressed a similar opinion, but that's my perspective.
Anyone else want to weigh in? Amy.
Yeah, I kind of want to echo and build on what's been said. So I think that what we just heard is a little bit of the tension that exists between the form that DESE provides us and the strategic goal that we set, strategic plan that we adhere to, and how they don't always line up. And for me, that was part of the challenge with completing the evaluation, is trying to fit the work that's been done into the categories that DESE sets out. And I just, I sent Mike an email after I submitted my evaluation to try to capture that sentiment, because I feel like the form is set up to evaluate very specific things that don't necessarily capture the essence of the long-term strategic planning work that's been done. And I think that if you look at it from a longer term viewpoint, that the exemplary rating is appropriate, because all the work that's been done this year is building towards a larger strategic vision. And, it's building blocks that are setting us up for success in the future. So, I support the way that Mike's framed the overall evaluation of the superintendent's work. And I appreciate how he broke out the school committee's point of view and also highlighted individual members' points of view. And I just want to commend him on putting together an excellent compilation, because I know that it required a lot of his time. And so thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Amy. Over to Mike.
I'm just going to add to what Amy said. The language coming from DESE's standards and indicators is very specific and can be kind of kludgy at times. And if given the option between doing the work in order to meet the language of the standard or doing the work in order to meet the language of the strategic plan, I would far prefer the latter.
Thanks, Mike. Any further comment? Maureen.
So on goal number 2, in the cumulative, it says met. That's the all curriculum in grades 6 through 12 will be developed, aligned, and mapped, but that's not exactly complete right now, right? So how can we say that that's been met?
Yeah, Mike, go right ahead.
I'm sorry. I think there was also a difference of opinion, if I'm reading between the lines, that should the superintendent have provided the full suite of documents as part of evidence or just samples of evidence? And the way that I personally did mine was that he provided samples of pieces of evidence without necessarily providing a document that was this all exhaustive outward facing evidence. So that's where I made my measurements. And I think there needs to be probably more clarity there, but there was a little bit of a tension there.
Maureen, is that hand still up?
No, I can put it down, but I thought we just discussed earlier today that the curriculum reviews aren't complete, because even in some of the samples provided today, there's missing pieces. So I don't think it's done yet, but it's going to be done before. The plan is to have it done before September to be parent facing.
Shandor, I don't want to gloss over what Maureen just said. I think that Maureen has put something on the table there that she's seeing. It feels like a glitch to her. So that's on the table. Now I'm going to go to Shandor. We're not forgetting it, but maybe Shandor is building on it or going in a different direction. It's up to you, Shandor.
Unfortunately, no. Different potential glitch. I'm seeing in goal 5 sort of a disconnect between the written comment and the cumulative score, because the written comment ends with the school committee also acknowledges that the work required to make greater progress towards the goal is ongoing and is centered around increasing awareness on the new focus on DEI, but considerable work must be completed in this area before the goal can truly be rated as met. And yet we're rating the goal as met. That doesn't seem to align with the
So I'll speak to that. The language actually came from an individual, and I think what you see is that it was listed as school committee, but it was language taken right from a specific individual. So I think that so just to be clear, the rating system was really just a mathematical ranking. And so there were some people that said that it was exceeded and some people said that it wasn't quite met, and met is where it landed in terms of an average. So if we need to change the language to an individual member, believes that considerable work must be completed in order for the goal to be truly rated as met, we can do that. It's fine.
Okay, so that else is on the table. Sharon.
So I guess what I'm thinking of applies to both Maureen's comment and also Shandor's. I think that one of the things that is difficult, or that I found difficult with the rating scale, is that it's trying to peg or pigeonhole something into a very specific place, but it doesn't take into account the enormity of the work that's been done. And to me, when I look at all of these different standards or indicators or goals, what I thought a lot about was not necessarily the letter of the law for what makes it significant progress or met or exceeded, but more looking at the enormity of the work that has been done and how far we have come in a very short time. And that was, and that might have been me that said, there's always more work to be done. That's the reality of what we do. That's part of learning. That's part of any work that we're doing, is that there will always be more to do. But when you look at where we were 1 year ago and where we are now, the difference is night and day. And that, to me, have more heavily influenced my ratings and the way I thought about those ratings more than the letter of what does this say. I hope that made sense.
Thanks very much for that. So I wanted to add to Maureen's comment. You guys know that this is the drum I beat around curriculum and assessment. And I think that I made significant progress in my evaluation. I think that there has been significant progress made in the writing of curriculum. And I'm so grateful for all of that. But I'm in agreement with Maureen. I don't think that it's all done yet. And I know that with a few of the social studies maps that were provided in the evidence, they were missing stage 3, which is a part of the curriculum map and actually an integral one. So I found the curriculum maps to be a wonderful work in progress, and I am not knocking any of it. I think it's ambitious to try to do any of this sort of overhaul in a year. So whereas I agree with Maureen that I personally think that should be moved to making significant progress, I am not opposed to keeping the overall rating at exemplary. And so that would be my only glitch. And therefore, because I know that the final rating is the one that gets logged, I would not make a fuss over it. But I do want to just put on the record, and Kirk knows this, and Laura does as well, how I feel. And Amy Vessel said it earlier. I think that there's so much work to be done, especially at the secondary level, around instructional strategy and assessment method, and creating feedback loops for the kids so that they can be reflective learners who continually make progress. And so that is the drum I beat. It is the thing I care about most. It is something that I know all of the people in this Zoom call care about as well. It's something that I know all of the teachers want to do well. And so I see significant progress being made down that road, and I'm super grateful for it, because we have the right leaders at the table, and we have all of these teachers who are fantastic and capable and willing. So I look forward to it. I don't necessarily think personally that I need anything to change here tonight, but I did want that to go on the record. So I see Amy Cohen's hand.
Thanks. I think this also relates to the fact that when the goals were set for the year, that the school committee acknowledged how ambitious Kirk's goals were, and that he was laying out a ton of work. And I believe that there was even some discussion of throwing caution to these goals as being too much to take on in 1 year. So I think that part of what we're seeing is that, and I think that Kirk responded by saying, I'd rather shoot for the moon and, not quite make it than set my goals lower than that and exceed them. So I think this is part of what we're seeing here, is that the goals that were set were truly very, very ambitious and maybe not attainable within 1 year. And so that is part of the issue that I was having with the ratings on the DESE form, is that, if you're rating it according to how DESE asks you to rate it, then it is hard to say something other than making significant progress on the curriculum goal that Kirk set for himself and that we agreed to. But I think the way that Leah said it is that, because in my individual assessment also kind of showed making significant progress or needing improvement in this area, but I've already gone on record saying that I would overall give an exemplary rating. And it has to do with the fact that the goals were just very, very ambitious.
Thanks, Amy. All right. So I wonder, is there any further comment, anything that you would want altered? Sharon?
Sorry, I just had to add into there that I agree that the superintendent deserves nothing less than an exemplary rating for an overall rating.
Thanks, Sharon. All right, I'm not seeing any more hands. So we are going to look for a motion, and I wonder, Mike, can you give that to us?
Yes, I can. All right, so I'll move to approve the composite Nashoba Regional School Committee summative superintendent evaluation report as presented. The overall summative performance of exemplary will be reported to DESE.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? All right, thanks everyone. Let's take the vote. Mike?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Scott?
Yes.
Shondor?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Amy Vessels?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Amy Cohen?
Yes.
That is unanimous. Superintendent Downing, you are an exemplary leader of our district, and we so appreciate you and your whole team for everything you do.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm humbled, and we know we have a lot of work to do. As you and I spoke about in one of our meetings, I live in a world of significant progress. I mean, I think that's just, if we're not always thinking about how to get better, if we ever get satisfied with net, then we've stopped learning. We should always be in a mindset of significant progress so that we can continue to carry on. So thank you for that. And thank you for your support to everyone tonight.
Great. Mike, thanks so much for that hero status right now.
Thanks to all of you for submitting, for being so diligent about submitting it. It's far more impactful when you have so many voices that are compiled together.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're moving on to our subcommittee reports, and we are going to start with you, Mike, budget and warrant.
Things have slowed down in budget and warrant since the, I guess, unofficial end of the budget season, but we are now focusing on our operations reports and, of course, the OPEB advisory. We are hoping to get a final committee count and then offer a membership to the broader school committee after it gets reviewed at the budget and warrant committee. So we'll be meeting, I think, on the 12th. I think I could be wrong, but we'll be meeting somewhere in the first half of the month.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Over to communication and Sharon.
No report.
Great. Over to the school building committee and Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The school building committee met on May 17th, and the committee was presented with its first look at the estimated project budget for the new high school. The figure that was presented to the building committee was $241,714,926, with a possible $2 million offset if the town of Bolton opts to waive permitting fees. The OPM has also built in some other possible deductions, which will be discussed at the building committee's next meeting on May 31st. As the members of this committee know, that evening we will be having a joint meeting with the building committee subsequent to our 6 p.m. meeting. I just want to put everyone on notice this evening that the Zoom link for the meeting will be the building committee meeting. So I will be sending out an email reminder with the building committee link for the meeting on the 31st. We anticipate the meeting will be about 45 minutes, perhaps an hour, but I believe, Madam Chair, you're scheduling the subsequent meeting of the school committee and the building committee for a 6:45 p.m. start. And I think that is about it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. Because that pertains to the whole committee, is everybody cool with that? Everybody understands what's going on the 31st?
One last thing, Madam Chairman. with the email, the communication I will send out, I will send each member the estimated project budget. Don't worry, it's only a page long. So take a look at it and be prepared to vote on this next week. Thank you.
And can I just jump in to say that there's going to be a public forum on June 14th. Once the school committee approves that budget, right, the idea is to present it to the public for comment and not comment, but just present it, get it out there, seek feedback.
Well, the forum's going to go forward whether we approve the budget or not. So, yes, we have a public forum scheduled for the 14th, but the chronology of events will be that we, as a committee, will look to approve the project budget based on the presentment of our OPM and design team on the 31st, at which time we will then present the approved budget, project budget as voted upon by the district committee at the forum on the 14th. In speaking to the OPM, nothing that we do as a committee is ever final. So if there are further adjustments to be made, they can be made in advance of June 27th, which is our deadline for submission of our preferred schematic design or the schematic design and the project budget. But again, the OPM believes that what they are presenting is a solid and firm number. It is slightly higher than what we had originally anticipated, but there are some available avenues to reduce this budget if necessary. And just to hammer this point home, with the document you'll be receiving along with my email will show that the estimated district share was going to be somewhere between $175 and $185 million when we started this project. Right now, our OPM is estimating that the district share will be $176,579,496. So I would say that the OPM and our design team has basically put this right into the wheelhouse of what we had originally presented. So hopefully this will, we won't have to go through any significant backflips in order to provide a final project budget to the MSBA on the 27th of June. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Sharon, you have a hand up?
I just want to make sure that I understand what the meeting schedule is for next week. So the meeting starts at 6 and it's the school building committee link for the meeting.
The school building committee meeting will start at 6 p.m.
Okay.
The joint meeting of the district committee and the building committee is scheduled to start at approximately 6:45 p.m. We don't anticipate there being a significant amount of deliberation on the final vote for the project budget. So we're moving the chair, I believe, has granted leave to start the meeting a little bit earlier. And we're hoping to get an approval from the district committee on the project budget next Wednesday at about 6:45 p.m. So you can come for 6 o'clock if you'd like, but the district committee will be convening at 6:45.
The joint meeting starts at 6:45, and
yes.
That is on the regular school committee link?
No.
No.
I will send out an email. Okay. It's on the agenda. Alita has put a big fat red arrow right there on the agenda showing us which link you're going to. We're doing this for ease of segueing from one meeting to the other and for recording purposes. So I will send out an email and I actually waited on this until Ms. Masterson had posted the agenda. I will send out an email probably tonight, no later than tomorrow morning, with the school building committee link and a reminder to all members to join the Zoom meeting using that link at 6:45 p.m. or come at 6 if you'd like. And I will also send along the project budget.
Thank you
so much, Joe. Awesome. So moving on to personnel. Mike, anything extra to share?
Quite frankly, no.
You've done enough, man. You've done enough. Let's hear from policy. That's Karen.
Policy met on May 11th. I unfortunately was detained at work, but I know that the committee was working on just tying up the loose ends on the school committee manual, that the work we had done so far this year. But if Amy or Sharon or Chandra wants to add in there, feel free, because I wasn't actually present.
Everybody good? All right, thanks for keeping on working on that, guys. Let's go over to our advisory committees. Anything, Maureen, from audit advisory?
Just that they're going to have a meeting with the auditors once the final audit report is issued.
Any idea when that is?
It should be soon. They were expecting end of May, so.
Yeah, we just received our draft. And yeah, we should have a final one within, I think, a week or so.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Anything from Dear Jay, Sharon, beyond what we heard tonight?
No, I think they covered it pretty much earlier with their presentation.
Great. And Karen, obviously, same thing. Anything else for CPAC?
Nothing to add. They did a great job.
All right. RAAC, guys, I am so excited to tell you that all 3 towns have voted in favor of our amended agreement. There were actually very few questions, and it sailed through. So I think all the hard work of the subcommittee, of the advisory committee, and the transparency that I think was infused into the process is really done us well here. So the amended agreement is sent to the Department of Ed, and we're waiting on the commissioner's approval. Once that happens, it will be official, and it will replace the old one. So more on that to come. For the next agenda, I have the planning calendar up, and our next meeting obviously is on the 31st. We've already said that a couple of times, and the 31st is really all dedicated to the MSBA process. So the joint meeting will perhaps not last terribly long. So we'll see you there, and I look forward to Joe's email. June 7th is the meeting after that, and that will be our organizational meeting. And so May 31st will actually be the last meeting where Maureen will join us, and we can talk more about that then. But on the 7th, we will be having 2 new members come on board, and I've already met with one and completed the orientation, and I hope to meet with Dana Ellis. So I met with Jackie Reinert already, and I hope to meet with Dana Ellis, who is our other incoming member, next week at some point to complete the orientation. So the planning calendar has all the things that we do at the organizational meeting, but please reach out to me if you have questions or if anything's unclear, if you think something should be added. Lastly, you can see on the planning calendar perhaps that we on the 21st have an additional meeting. This is, there will be an executive session as we talked about earlier tonight. And then we will put some things to vote around MSBA as well. All right, so everybody cool with the future meetings? Apparently we have one in August as well, so more on that later. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Well, thanks for all your hard work tonight, everybody. Really appreciate it. I am going to move to adjourn. Can I get a second?
Second.
I think Mike got that one. Good job, Mike. And I'll take the vote. I'm going to vote yes. Sharon.
Yes.
Shandor.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Amy Cohen.
Yes.
Amy Vessels.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
And Joe.
Yes.
All right, guys. Good time. See you later.